Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Do I Look Sick? It is Mia with Sickle Cell Awareness 365. Jennifer sends her love, and she will be back soon. Today, I have a guest co-host, Miss Tabitha Marmon, with Interviews with Tab, and she's going to give us some little tidbits on international travel. I'm so excited to hear what she has to offer and just hear about her experiences. So, good evening, Tabitha. How are you?
Hi, babe. I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm hanging in here, trying to rest up from being in Destin over the weekend, but I'm good now. So, well, first, introduce yourself and your journey with sickle cell.
My name is Tabitha Marmon. I have genotype SS. I am a advocate and public speaker for sickle cell disease, and I've been doing it for so long that I didn't know that I was advocating. So, a little backstory: I'm an '80s baby. My parents knew nothing about sickle cell disease or that they had the trait, so they found out once I came along. I was diagnosed after my father realized that something wasn't quite right about me gaining weight. I would get sick, or I would eat and be full and be happy, and then a few minutes later, I would spit it back up. So they took me to the doctor, and that's when I got my diagnosis and started with the St. Jude and Lobotomy care.
Wow. How old were you when you were diagnosed?
Ooh, a couple months, maybe 7 to 10 months.
Okay.
I think
Wow. Um,
fairly young.
okay. Yeah, I was diagnosed at 6 months, so that sounds about right. So,
Mhm.
as you got older, how was your childhood living with sickle cell?
Ooh. I am the only person in my family on both sides, mom and dad, who has sickle cell disease. So it was pretty lonely. I was also the only person at my school and church who had sickle cell disease. I didn't meet anyone who had the disease until I was a preteen, like around 13.
Mm,
So my childhood was a bit isolated. I think that's the best word because I'm handling it by myself. My parents are handling it with me. They're trying to figure out what the best route to go is, but there's no example, there's no groundwork to show them. So we basically did everything together.
yeah, yeah. As
Mhm.
you've gotten older or becoming an adult, do you find that things have kind of leveled out? Have they gotten worse? Have they gotten better? How has that been for you?
That's a double-edged sword question.
Okay.
As a kid, I noticed that a lot of my pain and pain crises were typically in my joints. So, like my wrist, my elbows, my knees. And I didn't really have any hospitalizations or pain crises, to be honest, during high school and college up until my sophomore year, I think. Sophomore year, no, junior year in college, I blacked
Yes.
out. So once that started, my sickle cell was like, oh, okay, yeah, we're gonna show up today. You're not
Yeah.
gonna have fun. This is gonna
Yeah.
be great.
Yeah. Yeah.
So from that point, I noticed that there was a difference. I now have crises in my stomach, in my chest, in my back, in my legs. So it's changed in place and in the strength of a crisis compared to as a kid. But I think that is pretty normal for the genotype that I have with SF. I think we typically have more difficulties into adulthood. So I'm learning more as I go.
Yeah, I don't think we'll ever end the knowledge of sickle cell. We're going to always be finding out more stuff. Um,
Correct.
Even having SC as I've gotten older, it's gotten more intense and I've gotten more issues. So, we
Mm-hmm.
age faster. So we get the age and growing pains along with sickle cell pain. And it's like, welcome 38. So,
Hello.
so yeah. So I'm glad to hear that you were able to go to college. A lot of people are a bit stunted in Going off to college, of course, the parents can be very afraid and very
Mhm.
um, clingy, and I get it to a
Yes.
certain degree. But how did your parents deal with you going to college? Did you stay at home?
I wanted to get as far away as I possibly could, but my parents were like, absolutely not. Absolutely not. You're going to be in state. You're going to be close in case
Yeah,
something happens. We can come and get you.
yeah,
So we compromised, and I was like, okay, I'll just stay close where you guys can keep an eye on me. But you know how that is.
yeah,
I'm not going to say it wasn't hard because as much as I wanted to focus and finish in 4 years, I also had to remember that my body is different from everyone else's. I have to make sure that I'm taking the time to make sure that I'm putting myself first
yeah,
and study and eat well and rest and study some more just to make sure that I'm keeping up with my peers. So
yeah,
college was rough. I'm not gonna
yeah,
lie.
yeah.
College was rough, but I'm glad that I did it.
Yeah, that's amazing. So I know you do some work with Transition Clinic. They're in Memphis. Can you tell us a little about that?
Yes, St. Jude has a transition meeting for all of their teams transitioning from pediatric care to adult care. And I basically come back as a, hey, I did it, look at me, I'm a great example. And I basically come in and talk to the parents if they have any questions or concerns. And I basically explain to the teens that there's going to be certain things that you need to do. Here's what helped me. If you're going to college, this is what helps. XYZ is what I did, and that helped me keep some more money in my pocket.
Yeah,
Signing up with your 504 plan, talking to your counselor, things of that nature. I'm basically like a mentor, I
yeah,
guess.
yeah,
And I've been doing that 2014 or 15.
yeah. Okay, nice.
Yeah.
That's about
Mm-hmm.
how long I've been doing it with Children's Healthcare of Atlanta. So I used to leave when I was working. I would leave work, do my half a day, and
Mm-hmm.
go and spend it with show. And I felt more fulfilled doing that than the 40
Yeah.
hours I was putting in at work. So
And
that's
I said
awesome.
the same thing because that's what I was doing. I was basically leaving work to go do it. And then I just ended up taking off for that day because I end up having more fun with the
Yeah,
teenagers anyway.
exactly, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
I'm glad
Mm-hmm.
you feel me on that.
Yeah, we here.
So, where did this passion for traveling come from?
Sickle cell disease, actually.
Okay.
Me, like I said earlier, me being the only one in the family, the only person that my parents knew who had sickle cell disease, I think I was kind of put in a bubble. I was sheltered. They didn't really understand certain things, so they were overly cautious as far as me being active as a child. So a lot of times they would say, "Oh, well, we know that you want to do this." Excuse me, there's a bug, but we don't want you to get sick. So how about you go read instead? So I really didn't get a chance to do any activities. And as I got older, I started to realize that I wanted to travel. I wanted to do certain things. And there's always that voice in the back of your mind saying, oh, well, you might get sick. You might need to go to the hospital. Maybe you shouldn't. And I just got tired of that voice. I got tired of sickle cell disease putting a limit on the things that I could do.
Yeah.
So I just decided that I wouldn't let it hold me back anymore.
Nice. That's a great way to be, whether you have sickle cell or not, because some people just fear planes or just fear to do that type of stuff. But in a sense, I do think sickle cell makes us more adventurous to a certain degree.
Yes, yes.
So yeah, I get it. So what
I
was?
co-
Go ahead. What you say?
I said I co-signed that statement.
Right. So what was your first international trip?
My first international trip was February 2019, and I went to Cartagena, Colombia.
Nice. And what did you do to prepare to? How long was that flight, first of all? Do you remember?
Um, it wasn't too bad. From here to Cartagena, that was maybe 10 hours, if that. That was relatively easy. But I'm not gonna lie, I was scared. I did
Yeah.
have those moments where I listened to the naysayers and the people who were like, oh, well, maybe you shouldn't go. You have sickle cell disease, you have to think about your health. And then on the other hand, it's like, okay, if I don't go and I regret this, I'm going to have to live with that regret. So I'm going regardless. So I talked to my doctor about it. And I talked to my therapist and I was like, hey, I'm scared, but I really want to do this. No one is really in my corner. No one is really supporting this that I want to do. Like, I don't have any support whatsoever. So she basically was like, okay, well, you know that you're thinking about sickle cell disease and how to tackle that. Let's think of some ways that we can help your body fight the potential factors that may cause you to have a crisis.
Nice.
So looking at it from that angle helped me to kind of make a list out of things that I needed to do.
Nice, nice.
Mm-hmm.
Was it a straight flight or were there stops in between?
There were stops. So I think it was from here to Houston and then Houston to Cartagena. Like it was a straight shot. So it was just one stop.
Okay.
But I'm typically prepared for the airport anyway, and having sickle cell disease, you're prepared for anything because, you know, sickle cell disease will pop up and ruin your plans. You think you're going to go out for a night of partying with the girls, and sickle cell disease is like, hey, I'm tagging along.
Right,
you know?
right. It gets
so
excited too.
Right. You got to just be prepared for anything that happens. So I had my medical bag with me. I had my paperwork saying that I have sickle cell disease and I may need certain medications and that type of thing. And I talked to the airline and I said, hey, I'm disabled. I may need some assistance. And they made it super easy to just fly through those stops and those processes. And I really didn't have to do a lot of the TSA checks, which was another plus.
Yeah.
And it's funny, as soon as I like asked for help, I got it, you know?
Yeah.
And I think we're so used to doing things ourselves. So I had to remember that I'm doing something new, so I may not know exactly where to go. So asking for help is going to end up helping me in the long run.
Yeah, yeah. And sometimes, like you said, we are so independent, sometimes to a fault, but but asking for the I know in Atlanta airport I always ask for assistance because it's like I have to reserve my leg energy. My leg is where most of my pain is, so I have to reserve my energy and reserve my leg pain for when I get to where I'm going. So, yeah. Did you do anything different with your international trip than a domestic trip?
Yes. So for international travel, I know that I'm going to be making more stops and I know that I'm going to be on that plane for a longer period of time. So I have to remember that there's going to be pressure that my body's going to fight against and dehydration. So I really have to focus on making sure that I'm consistently getting water, which is as simple as telling the flight attendant, hey, I have a condition where I consistently need water. Or if you call the airline, like I mentioned earlier, and say, hey, I may need wheelchair assistance getting from TSA checkpoints. Or if you say, I need assistance making my meal plans. I mean, you can do all of that on an app now. So as long as you get that done ahead of time, it goes smoothly. So I basically doubled my hydration. And you know the little Mio squirt bottles? That saved me. I got 2 of those. Of course, I had some Ensure with me, and I just told them, hey, this helps me. I may need to have a couple packs with me, and they were fine with it.
Okay.
I had a bottle of water with me. I got fluids and blood before my international trip. My doctor made sure that he checked my numbers to make sure I was okay. I had photocopies of my birth certificate and my passport just in case they got lost. You know, it's just basically making sure that you're backing up your backups.
Yeah.
Having and C and D just in case something happens.
Yeah.
And the people I was with, they knew that I had sickle cell disease. They knew where the closest hospitals were. Nice. We always stopped for fresh water, and I was the first person to get water. And it's funny because the places that we went, all of the attractions, they would just pass out water. So I'd be like, can I get 3 of those, please and thanks? Right. So people are typically accommodating. You just have to open your mouth and just ask.
Yeah.
Another thing that really helped me leading up to the flight, I really watched my diet because I know that elevation can affect sickle cell disease. Mm-hmm. So I tried my best to stay away from greasy and, you know, the thick, yummy things we love to eat. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Like 5 or 6 days before my flight, I tried to stay away from those foods and eat more fruit.
Nice. That's a good technique, just overall. Um,
Mm-hmm.
if you're traveling domestic, international, just overall, just to keep our body at a good point. So that's
Right.
good. Um, so how do you decide what destination you're going to? Do you and your friends just pick one, or how does that work?
Typically for me, I always want to go somewhere I haven't been, and I want to make sure that I'm doing some type of attraction or some type of physical activity that I can't do here in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So as long as I mark off those things and it's something that scares me and has some type of adventure in it, I'm down for.
Okay.
Because I feel like if I'm tackling some sort of fear, that I accomplished something. And I know that sounds a little stupid,
I get
but
it. I get it though. I get it. So
yeah.
when we have a picture of the one with you and the tiger, I love it. Let's see that one. I know you had to be scared because I would have been scared, even though I don't know. I just would have been super scared. Do we have that picture of Tabitha and the tiger?
Mia, I was terrified.
I know you were. There it is.
Oh my gosh.
Like, did they knock them out
Right.
first, or like, how was that? Like, what were you thinking in that
So,
moment?
okay, so in my mind, I was like, yo, that is a real live tiger, bro. Are you sure you want to do this?
Right, right.
And then I was like, all right, you're here in Thailand. You came to have some adventure that includes animal encounters. Other people have done this. What's the worst that could happen? And then my inner Memphis was like, you can get them out. You can get them out. Yeah. But that tiger was napping, and a lot of them are under certain types of diets, and they've been drugged. So
Okay.
that napping and was very calm and collected. And I was keeping my calm and cool, because he was keeping his cool and was
Right.
calm. But as soon as his tail moved, I was like,
Right.
all right,
It's
time
time to go.
to go.
And that was where was that one taken at?
That was in Phuket, Thailand, September
Okay.
2019.
Nice, nice. And then we have a picture with you feeding an elephant, is it?
Yes.
Was that
That
in
was the same trip.
okay.
Thailand.
And I saw some of the other pictures you sent me. Were you guys bathing the elephant or what was going on there?
Yes. So that was an elephant sanctuary. A lot of places um, in Thailand, they have those attractions where you can ride the elephants.
Okay.
But we learned that a lot of those elephants are abused. So we went to the sanctuary where they're taken care of and they can live out their days and, be protected. A lot of elephants are killed for their tusks. So the sanctuary was a lot of fun. We got to wash them and feed them and, take pictures. I had a lot of fun. That was also terrifying because it's like, I'm 5'10" and this elephant is like 8'3", and I was like, oh God, it's so big.
Right. Right.
But it was a good time.
I'm sure. I'm sure. It just looks exciting.
It
Um,
was
so my next question. Oh, in this picture, this was also in Phuket, right?
correct.
And what is this? Is it dragon?
It is. It's a dragon. It's part of their, I think, prayer ritual. We were at the giant Buddha, and
Nice.
at the top of the steps is where that statue was, and you could see the giant Buddha right across from it. And that thing, you can see it from like satellites. It's huge.
Nice. Now, would you be able to like participate with the monks there? I would love to be able to do that.
So we were greeted by monks. And of course, you have to make sure that you're covered. So that's why I have on the skirt. I had on shorts, and they were just not appropriate for the temple. So they cover up anything that may be inappropriate
Okay.
with the sarong. So they lead us around, and they're showing us certain rites and certain statues of people that have been monks and whatever they did for Thailand, and it was just amazing. It's huge too. We did get a chance to watch them in prayer, and I didn't want to disturb them because it's not, I don't want to be that person. I wouldn't want people just coming in and going, "Oh, look what the Christians are doing,"
Right.
you know.
Right. Right.
Yeah, it was great.
Nice. I would love to just experience that myself. So, as far as how long are your trips usually, and do you calculate in days for you to just like decompress and do nothing?
Yes. So typically, anytime I'm on a flight, that first day I come in, I need to recharge, I need to nap, I need to let my body adjust to the elevation. And I really concentrate on relaxing, making sure that my feet are elevated, and hydration. My trip to Thailand, when I first got there, everything from my knees to my feet were swollen. So I was just like, I did not think this through.
Yeah.
Compression socks.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Yeah.
make a note. So that first day is really for me to just kind of catch up, relax, eat something healthy, and let my body adjust.
Mm-hmm.
And I really nap that time too. I don't want to do too much too soon. So that first day is really dedicated to making sure that my body is okay, that my temple is in a good
Good.
spot. Because otherwise, if I'm jumping from this to that, I won't be able to enjoy the fun.
Exactly. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Even domestically, I need a day. I need some time once I get to where I'm going
Yeah.
to just
Yes. Jet lag is like
decompress.
that. Why is it like that? I just be like, oh, help. I feel happy. But
is
yeah, I get a nap.
is there something other than a nap that you do to deal with the jet lag?
Um, Besides rest and extra water, I try to walk around a little. I don't want to overexert myself, and I have a lot of pain in my legs too. If I'm on them for too long, or if I've been sedentary for too long, my legs will act up. So I try to do some type of movement. But regardless if it's domestic or international, I definitely need time to nap and rest and let my body just kind of catch up.
Yeah. Yeah. I get it. I
What
completely
did
get it.
help me for Thailand, I drank, I want to say it was one of those emergency packs.
Okay.
That did help me.
Really? Okay.
Hmm.
Nice. So
Yeah.
I'm a foodie. What was the food like in both Phuket and Colombia? Tell me
So
about
I'm a
it.
foodie too.
Okay.
And my thing is, I always want to try something new, but not go too crazy.
Okay.
So the local dishes in Colombia, there was a lot of plantains, a lot of rice, a lot of fresh soup, a lot of fresh fish. So anything with a fish soup or grilled fish, I loved it because it was like right there and it was caught like 3 hours ago. So it was
Yeah.
like fresh, fresh.
Yeah.
They had like amazing fruit, like watermelon, their strawberries, everything was fresh.
Nice.
Pineapples, different level of amazing, okay? Different level.
Okay.
Same thing in Phuket. Now Phuket was a bit on the strange side of things because they eat crocodiles, they eat insects, they eat scorpions. There's like a whole alligator on display. We went out our first night to grab food, and they like cut it like they do a pig here.
Oh wow.
Like, hey, which piece of the crocodile do you want? And we'll grill it right here for you. And I was like, I'm not that adventurous. I'm gonna let y'all have it. I can't.
I
But
don't blame you.
Thailand, look, a whole crocodile?
Mm-mm. We not
Mm-mm.
we not ready for that one.
We're not ready for that. Thailand, it was a lot of guava, a lot of star fruit, a lot of pineapple, a lot of rice, a lot of seafood, period. Shrimp, crab, lobster, everything is fresh and available for you to just pick up, and it's cheap. It's
Nice.
delicious. You
Nice.
can get a huge serving of pineapple rice as big as my head for like maybe $6 USD. So
What?
the food, listen, the food was amazing.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah, I already know whenever I go somewhere I'm gonna eat. That's just me.
Me too.
So how long was the Thailand flight? You said Colombia was about 10 hours.
So Thailand by itself in the actual air on the plane was 18 hours, and that was
Wow.
super rough. And it's funny because like in my medical bag, I always have like my first aid kit. I have like my prescription medications in the bottles that they come in. But I was like, all right, I'm gonna go to sleep. I'm gonna take an ibuprofen. When I wake up, I'm gonna drink 2 more bottles of water. Like I have like a set schedule on when to drink more water so that I can get up, move around, go to the bathroom, do what I have to do. But that's just something that I learned personally. If I'm taking something longer than 10 plus hours to just go ahead and save up for first class, where I can actually stretch out and be in a cocoon and I have a bit more leg room. And then I'm a tall woman, so
Yeah.
that was a bit comfortable for me, but I didn't really have any issues as far as pain until we got back. I had a little back pain from sitting in the chairs for that long, but I mean, it's 18 hours in one seat. So,
Wow.
yeah.
That sounds like a long time. I have a hard time staying still in a road trip. So
It was rough, but we always had snacks. I mean, most international flights, you're going to be on something like um, what's the name of the airline? Uh,
Delta?
Lord, brain fart. No, it's going to be something like a Cathay Pacific. So that's what we took to get to Thailand. So
Okay.
I had already pre-ordered my meals. I had the vegetarian for one. I had a gluten-free something, just to keep it light, and so it didn't have anything too heavy.
Yeah.
So they served ice cream. They had fresh fruit. They had steamed vegetables that you're actually eating on the plane. So that part was magnificent as well. And
Nice.
of course, the staff knew that I was going to ask for extra water, so they would just put it on my tray. So there was not an issue as far as keeping myself fed and hydrated. It really just came to the point of stretching, making sure that I'm getting enough movement in my legs because where my pain is typically.
Yeah.
And there were in-flight movies. So if I wasn't sleeping or entertaining myself with music or a movie, I was basically just trying to stay calm and relaxed and de-stress and get up and stretch. But my sister came with me. There was a moment where she massaged my legs because they were hurting. God bless you. God bless you, Starsha. I love you so much.
We love friends like that, right? Look out for you.
Yes.
Let's see. So how long are your trips? A week, 2 weeks? What's the time frame of your trips?
It depends on who you're booking with as far as the travel agent and the destination. Most trips like that, maybe 5 to 7 days. I think Colombia was maybe 4 to 5 days. And Thailand was, I think, 5 to 7, I believe.
Okay.
So I basically am just planning out the flight. That's what I'm really concerned about. The flight, making sure I'm staying hydrated. And now I know that I need to make sure that I make note to stay out of the sun because I was doing great. I was enjoying the warmth, and that's how I technically got sick. The sun, both trips.
From being dehydrated?
Um, so in Colombia, I love the sun. I love to be warm and toasty because I'm a little woman. I don't have a lot of fat reserves. I'm cold all the time.
Okay.
So I'm enjoying myself in the sun, and I get back and I'm like, oh, I don't feel good. So water, nausea medicine, and I lay down, and everything snowballs from that point. I get back to Memphis, and my doctor's like, oh, yeah, that was heat exhaustion. That's what that was. Congratulations, you were out in the sun for too long. Did you wear a hat? No, I didn't. Did you have SPF? Yeah. Did you put it on? So yeah, that's my problem. I'm a little hard-headed. Same thing happened in Phuket. I was like, all right, this time we're gonna stay out of the sun. We're gonna enjoy ourselves. We're gonna stay hydrated. We get out to the pool. I'm having a great time out in the sun. And I'm like, oh, it feels so nice and warm. Got sick again, had a crisis. I'll learn my lesson one of these days, girl. One of these days, like, all right, first song.
Is that like a different type of sun there? Like, is it
Yes,
just okay?
yes. So in Colombia, we are closer to the equator,
So
and
it's hot.
that summer,
Is a beast.
like Memphis on crack. Our highs are like 97, 98, maybe 102. Thailand was like 103 and like Satan sprinkling some some mischief on top of it. It was
Oh no!
horrendous. Horrendous.
And you got to be covered too. Well, that was just in
Colombia
Thailand.
really wasn't that type of atmosphere. We saw a lot
Okay.
of people in shorts and dresses. They weren't really covered. If anything, I saw a lot of topless people, which I don't have an issue with. But again, I was out in the sun for way too long, had heat exhaustion.
Interesting.
In Thailand, people are much more reserved in certain parts.
In certain parts. Okay.
Mm,
So,
yeah.
what is your next trip? Are you planning something? You got something in mind?
I had in mind to do something for 2000 and 2001, but the travel group that I was with, I'm no longer a part of that group, so doing something independently would have to be something that I do some more research on,
Yeah.
and it would probably be with a group of girls that actually want to get out and do some international traveling, and I would love to do it with some warriors, so
Yeah.
that's what I'm into. But as far as travel, I would love to continue seeing the world. I have a bucket list.
I hear
Many,
that. I hear
many places.
that. I would love to
Mhm.
visit Amsterdam, a few countries in Africa. Just
Yes.
I'm ready to go. A few years ago, I talked about how I wanted to. Well, I've been talking about how I wanted to build my advocacy up, especially when I was working for my job and talking
Hmm.
about traveling while I'm doing it. So, that's manifested. It's time for me to go international. Um,
Yes. What are you waiting on?
I would like to wait till we get some type of control over COVID and Delta and all of
Yes.
that. But
Yes. That really squashed my plans. I had intended to take another trip in 2000 because I was like, hey, the plan is to do 2 international trips a year. And then COVID came and I was like, I'm glad I didn't put down my deposit, but
yeah,
no.
yeah. And now it's like we have to be mindful of other countries' regulations when it comes to COVID, um,
Right.
and see what's needed. I know someone who had gone, I want to say to Jamaica, and it was certain she had to have her COVID test. I want to say before and after, and we just have to be mindful of those regulations wherever we go. Um, we're just so unsure of everything going on. However, I gotta get out the country.
Hello. And that's another scary aspect. Things are changing again, and they're talking about another lockdown. So it's just like, can
Yeah.
we just get it together? Can we just come together and just like
Yes.
act right?
Yes.
Please.
Yes. At least till we can clear this up. Something.
Yes.
I don't think it's gonna go back to normal, but I think we need to get to a stable point where we can get back to moving around, but moving around safely. So
Great.
I'm with you on that. Um, let's see if I had any more questions. So what else is on your bucket list? What's like the top on your bucket list to do?
Okay, so I really want to visit Nigeria in Africa because I hear it's beautiful and why not?
Yeah.
Um, Greece is also on my list.
Okay.
Italy as well because I love pasta. It's my
Yeah.
weakness, and I just want to sit around, stuff in my face with pasta and wine and some gelato, please and thanks.
That does
Thank you
sound
very much.
delicious. That sounds delicious. I think that was it. I just want to make sure I went over my questions. Is there anything else you want to share? Um,
um, I typically bring a first aid kit with me. I know I mentioned that earlier, just in case something happens. I've got some type of bandages and alcohol wipes. I've got some Midol. I've got some pain spray. I've got something to help with an upset stomach because, again, we're foodies. We're trying new things. We don't know what'll upset our stomach or could possibly cause a crisis. So as long as I've got my pain meds and my first aid kit and a couple other things that I keep in my medical bag, I think I'm okay. Um, One other thing that really stuck with me is you just said you wanted to do more advocacy. And as I travel and meet other people, they don't know what sickle cell disease is. So as I'm educating them by introducing them to me and my lifestyle and what I do, they're learning. And I've made some friends that way. And it's weird because I wasn't trying to advocate. I legit was just trying to enjoy myself, but you end up in the advocacy capacity just because you're meeting someone new. So I think that's super dope.
It is.
Another thing is I always have extra socks with me. And a couple extra dresses, because if you're in a tropical climate like I've been, the lighter the clothing, the better. Be mindful of the sun in tropical climates, as I've been the example for that. And just make sure that you are researching where you're going at least a few days in advance, because in both places you don't want to drink the water from the tap. A lot of places we were buying water, which is perfectly fine with me. I'd rather buy it and have it with me, and I can go wherever I need to go. But that was just something that we learned before we went. You have to always ask yourself, am I prepared for this completely? What else do I need to do? What vitamin, what supplement do I need to take to boost my immune system? What other treatments do I need to take from my doctor so that I can have a higher chance of coming back whole and not sick? But sickle cell will always interfere. And in the back of my mind, I figured, well, worst case scenario, I get sick and need to go to the hospital. But that happens when I'm at home. I've gone to work and had a pain crisis. I've gone out with my friends and had a pain crisis. I've gone to church and had a pain crisis. What's the difference between traveling and having one? There is no difference. I know what to do. I know what numbers to call. They have my emergency contact. They have my passport. They have my information. So the only thing stopping you is you. So I just stopped listening to people saying, well, maybe you shouldn't. Maybe that's not a good idea. I just started doing what I wanted.
Well, that's awesome. I had a question and it just slipped me.
Oh no.
It did. Oh, so do you prepare when you're doing your research for the different locations that you want to go? Do you pay attention to the seasons wherever it is?
Yeah. It's typically easier on my body to travel in the spring or fall, because you can always dress up in layers. You can always bundle something, but traveling in the summer when it's hotter, or the winter where you're exposed to the cold and the possible snow, that doesn't really work with me. That's another reason why I chose the tropical destinations. I'm kind of on the edge about traveling somewhere far up north and it being a lot of snow, because it's like, man, snow and cold weather, we don't really mix. We're like oil and water. We don't get along. So that was definitely a factor in picking my destinations as well.
Good, good, good. Yeah, that was definitely one of the things I was thinking about.
Mm-hmm.
Atlanta summer is really different from New York summer, you know what I'm saying? So to go
Completely.
somewhere completely different, that's
Mm-hmm.
definitely something that we should look at, living with sickle cell, and just like you
Right.
said, knowing what works best for you, when is a good time to travel, and all those
Mm-hmm.
things. So that's really good. That was a lot of good tips. Um, that you gave about traveling internationally, and I really hope those watching, I know I got something from it. I'm ready to put like a down payment on something.
Yes, sis, what are you waiting for? Do it,
Listen,
do it.
you right. Listen, my 40th birthday is going to be off the chain. I know that much. We're going somewhere next year, but definitely for my 40th. So
Absolutely.
yes. Well, thank you so much for joining and talking with me, Tabitha. I appreciate you so much. Keep doing awesome things with sickle cell advocacy, with interviews with Tab, and just being your beautiful self.
Thank you for having me, love.
You
Mwah.
are welcome. Let me get to our sponsors. I do want to thank Mr. Dan Moore with the Apex Museum. He is open. They are going by mask mandates and social distancing. He is still, everything else might be wide open, but Mr. Moore said, listen, y'all need y'all mask. We still need to do social distancing. So keep that in
That's
mind.
Mr. Moore.
Right. I also want to thank Tanya Robinson with Kids Stop Daycare and Learning Center. She's about to kick into high gear as school here starts next week. I also want to thank the Black Professional Network and TKH2O, who is awesome. That is a mobile hydration clinic, and they will actually come to you and do your IV.
Oh, wow.
Yes, she also has a daughter with sickle cell, but yes, she'll bring the IV to you. You can she works with athletes, and people who are do rigorous activities, of course, as well as people with certain illnesses like sickle cell. So that's amazing. I think she said she even started putting B12 in all of her IV drips. So
That's dope.
it is. And if you catch it on time, the key is to call her when you feel the crisis coming on. I don't think it is as effective if you call her like in the middle of a crisis. So
No.
that's like a preventative treatment. So
Is she in Tennessee? Cause
she is not. I need to figure out how we can get her up there. Maybe
sis,
on the weekend or something.
come here.
But yes, thank you again for so much for everything that you have done and for joining me today. So thank y'all for watching. We will see y'all in August. We have some amazing things coming up. The 8th annual Sickle Cell Community Consortium Convention conference. And yeah, we just got some amazing stuff coming up. So y'all stay tuned. Follow us on SCA 365 at Instagram, Facebook, all of that. Where can they find you, Tabitha?
I am at Interviews with Tab on Facebook.
Awesome. All right, y'all. We'll see y'all in a couple weeks.